Week 3 of Joe Bob's summer school, and they're already dropping like flies, aren't they? Because they can't keep up with Professor Joe Bob. This is Philosophy Night on MonsterVision, and joining us by satellite hookup at the first break will be guest lecturer Wes Craven, director of both of our movies tonight, Wes Craven's New Nightmare and The Serpent and the Rainbow. Not many people know that Wes was once Professor Craven, professor of philosophy at a small college in upstate New York, until one day he said, "I'd rather be making people wet their pants." But before we meet Wes, you need to study up for your upcoming summer school final exam, after which diplomas will be issued, good for sophomore credit at Jefferson Davis Vocational Technical High School in Bogalusa, Louisiana. To wit, henceforth, and etc., get out your notebooks, because during the next 4 minutes we will cover the entire history of Western philosophy. Please pay close attention. First, there was Socrates. He was a smart aleck, so they killed him. Then, there was Plato. Plato said the body was the prison house of the soul. Now, Nightmare on Elm Street, you starting to see the connection here? Prison house of the soul. Plato also said that if you go in a cave and look at the shadows of a beautiful woman throwing a reflection on the wall of a cave, you'll probably want to have sex with the wall of a cave. Okay, next we have Aristotle. Aristotle wrote down everything Plato said and made it boring. Next, Augustine of Hippo. Augustine had a sex drive like a hippo, but then he got religion and spent the rest of his life writing really long books about the body being the prison house of the soul, so he sort of copied Plato, which Aristotle then wrote down. Okay, then a bunch of guys wrote stuff in Latin, so we couldn't understand them. We're going to go right over them. Then came René Descartes. Follow me, please. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am a French egotist. The soul is better than the body. We can't trust the body worth a flip, starting with Descartes. Now, Descartes led directly to Spinoza, the Portuguese pantheist, a guy from Portugal with ungodly pants. Now, what did Spinoza say? The body and the soul are part of the same thing, which is divine substance. Ooh. Oh, almost forgot. Locke, John Locke. The body has experience, and then the mind figures it out. John lived in England. He ate too much kidney pie. Forget him. Okay, Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz. You know what he invented? Calculus. So nobody knows what he really thought. Okay, Immanuel Kant. Here's the biggie. Kant. Critique of pure reason, transcendental, a priori, a posteriori. You take all the stuff the body does, and you find out it only lives in the mind. You see how this is all connecting up? All right. Hegel. Dialectic of history, absolute mind working in history. Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard, the brooding Dane, existentialism, make that leap of faith, being, not doing. And then who took all of this history of Western philosophy, every single thing in it, put all the great ideas of the great thinkers into a synthesis so that perception and understanding are in harmony, so that the mental structure actually becomes the experienced object. Who did that? Class? Anybody? Who did that? Frederick Krueger. What was Frederick Krueger's philosophy? Going back to Kant. Cogito ergo juvenilis mentum. I own all the minds of the children. And cogito ergo barbecuum. They are dead meat. It was Frederick Krueger, also known as Freddy Krueger, who brought mind and body together in ways never understood before, and it was Wes Craven who put this vision on the screen. Let's watch the movie, and you'll see what I mean. Roll it. Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and in that last scene, that was Bob Shea, the chairman of New Line Cinema, who is really the chairman of New Line, and who is really the man who gave the go-ahead to make the movie that we're watching. And I thought he did a pretty dang good acting job there, but you don't have to trust me, because coming to us now from his home high in the hills overlooking Hollywood is the master himself, Wes Craven. Hey, Wes, what are you doing out there?
Hanging out.
Well, Wes, this is a philosophy night on MonsterVision in your honor, because in your early career you were, in fact, an instructor of philosophy at what college was that?
Well, I actually have a degree in philosophy from Johns Hopkins University, but I actually taught humanities at the college level, which is, history of Western Civ and English and modern drama and all that sort of thing.
And were you good at that? Were you a good philosophy teacher? Do you know all the classics?
I think I was a good teacher. I was always in trouble. I was always doing funny skits. I was making movies when I was supposed to be teaching English. I was usually being fired for one thing or another. But I was a good teacher. I have still received a lot of letters from my students, but none from my department chairmen.
I actually kind of like that. I think that speaks well of you. Who was your favorite philosopher?
I would say my favorite philosopher is Marx, Groucho Marx.
Well, they're both Marxes are revolutionary. Okay, well, the philosophical issue at work here in Wes Craven's New Nightmare seems to be appearance versus reality. And you have just totally confused everybody by mixing in real people with fictional people, and people from the old movies with people from the new movies, and people's characters with their real personalities. In fact, the very first words in the movie are, "More blood," spoken by you playing yourself. Are you just messing with us here?
Yeah, I was messing with everybody, including myself. I mean, I thought that was kind of the cliche view of who Wes Craven must be, always screaming for more blood. So those are the words I put in my lips. But, the movie was really, it was almost an anticipation of the Scream type of movie in which you jump outside the genre a little bit and look at it from the outside. In the case of New Nightmare, it was looking at it from the side of the people that made it and participated in it as actors and actresses, where Scream is more from the side of the audience. But it still, I think, came out of the same impulse of feeling like the genre had sort of reached a dead end, and the way to freshen it was to jump outside of it and sort of look at it at the same time we're telling a story.
Wes, I know it's philosophy night, but you're giving me a headache. So stick around there, though, because we want to talk to you again at the next commercial break, okay? Okay, back to the movie. Did I do those drive-in totals? I didn't do those. I better do those real fast. We have 3 dead bodies, hand hacking, bloody stump blood spurting, 5 earthquakes, chest ripping, 2 motor vehicle crashes, 1 epileptic fit with white goo spitting, arm slashing, blood spitting, neck crushing, levitating babysitter, nurse pummeling, eel to the eyeball, knife to the leg, exploding underground demonic temple, 4 stars. And I'm not just giving it 4 stars because Wes is listening, although I would probably lie about it if I had to.
Back to MonsterVision host Professor Joe Bob Briggs and Wes Craven's New Nightmare on TNT.
All right, we're watching Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and we're talking to Wes Craven. This is great. Wes, you are just tricking us left and right with this movie. When Heather goes to the hospital, we think that part's a dream, but it turns out to be reality. Then the funeral looks realistic, but it turns out to be a dream. The morgue is kind of surreal. What are you trying to do here?
Well, we tried to follow kind of a logical line. I mean, the funeral, for instance, turns into a dream when she falls and hits her head. Up until that point, it is real, or it was, at least we thought of it as realistic. But then when she falls and hits her head and seems to recover, she really, is still kind of knocked out and is seeing this hallucination of what's really going on. Or is it a hallucination? Because in a sense, Freddy is revealing himself to her. Oh, that might be him on the line right now.
You're confusing me again, Wes. How did you get the idea for the original Nightmare?
The original Nightmare on Elm Street came out of a series of newspaper articles that were in the Los Angeles Times over about a 9-month period. 3 separate cases of young men in their 20s, early 20s, that were dying in the middle of nightmares. And the third story I found the most striking because it developed to the point where the kid kept telling his family, I'm having nightmares that are unlike anything I've had before, and I'm terrified of sleeping. And then he set about trying to stay awake and simply refused to sleep. His parents had a doctor prescribe sleeping pills and made him take them, and they waited until he would just fall asleep naturally, which he finally did after 2 or 3 days. They found him slumped over in the living room watching with the television on. They put him in bed. The whole family says, fine, we can go to bed now and have a good night's sleep. And in the middle of the night, they heard terrified screaming, ran into his room, and by the time they got to him, he was dead.